Hello and welcome to OkState Insider, the podcast from GoPost.com. I'm publisher Scott Wright of GoPost.com, joined by my co-host Tyler Adams of The Morning Animals. We did our first show a while back. I don't even think I ever mentioned who you are, and I apologize for that, Tyler.
The people know, Scott.
That's right. I don't. You need no introduction. So anyway,
there's not many tea bags running around on Oklahoma State Twitter. That I know.
That's a fair assessment. Anyway, T-Bag, Tyler Adams from the Sports Animal, the Morning Animals in particular, and I'm hoping I'll be getting to join you guys here soon, maybe in a week or so.
If you're lucky enough, we'll hire you again.
All right, yeah. Good deal.
Curtis, this is all Curtis. I say we. It's really Curtis. He decides when you're hired and when you're fired.
Yes, that's the most important thing is that I do know that I'll be fired again. So that's
hopefully this time it's like January and we're still talking football and not November 28th and football season.
Right. Yeah. It's like I guess we'll bring you back for signing day, but whatever. Yeah. No, hopefully there's some more football to be discussed beyond the end of November. All right, man. It's we're roughly a week away from the opening of camp. Do you get excited at this point, or do you need games to get really excited?
It's starting to hit me ever since we did the last episode. Mm-hmm. And just sitting down and talking OSU football uninterrupted for 1 hour, I think that was a start, because last week, we'll get to our subjects later on in the show, but let's just say I'm going to go very non-niche and very basic on the guys who I'm excited to watch, because, Scott, it's getting so real that Oklahoma State, forget about everything else, it's getting so real. The more you hear these scouts, the more you hear the national people talk about Drew Messamaker. It is getting so real that Oklahoma State has a quarterback that, if he has a good year, is going to be a first-round draft pick. And if Oklahoma State somehow, some way, goes 10-2 or 9-3, and it's because they're putting up 40 points a game and Drew Messamaker's just slinging it and gunning it all across the field, who's to say this guy can't work up into a top 15, top 10 guy and be like a real NFL prospect and a real guy that a team is going to try to build around the NFL? I know this is the offseason best case scenario for Drew Messamaker. But that, you asked me if I'm getting excited. Yeah, I'm getting very excited, because Drew Messamaker is a quarterback of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and he has weapons to go along with them. And what I think is going to be a very, very good head coach in this conference in Eric Morris. And yeah, it took me a second post Thunder to get into football because I was hurt. Now it's football. I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, August preseason camp is always a little bit weird for me, because I get fired up at the beginning, and then a week and a half in, I'm like, it's really all the same stuff, just regurgitated for the entire month of August, and it gets a little redundant pretty quickly. But that's all right.
Yeah, well, and then so it's going to be August 10th, and we're going to be 2 weeks into camp, a week and a half into camp, whatever it is. We kind of know what's going on at this point. Nothing new, just hoping for no injuries at this point, waiting for the season. That's the part where it really sucks, because you're like, I'm bored of Hard Knocks. I'm bored of all this training camp news. I'm bored of everything going on. I need the games now. That's when it gets hard.
Yeah, and now that said, there was some talk among Oklahoma State representatives and some of the people in the media. Were getting kind of a glimpse at what our preseason schedule might look like, and it could be like as late as the 18th or so, I think, of August, that we're going to get to be in practice, and not a ton, but get to see a little bit of practice, which is way beyond what we've seen the last couple of years of Gundy. I want to say by the second week of camp, they were shutting us out. So going to get possibly as many as 4 or 5 chances to look at this team in the preseason, and like I said, well into the middle of August. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, Eric Morris so far. Now, I'm not into the whole the beat writer and going seeing everything I can with my eyes like you are. But I know that Eric Morris has given the media a lot more access than what the past of Gundy was. And I mean, we don't need to get it. We don't need to spend all this time on Gundy and the media throughout. Really, ever since 2013, that SI stuff came out, it was very bipolar on how he treated the media and how he felt. I think towards the end, Scott, he was like, "I'll just be super funny in press conferences to make up for it. I'll just say the most stuff in press conferences to make up for the lack of availability I do give them."
Yes, I'll bring my dogs to press conferences, whatever it is. Yeah, I completely.
I'll throw shots at whoever I want to throw shots at that day.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I'm gonna flip the coin on you here, though.
Okay.
You talk about how excited you are. What are some areas that you're concerned about, or a little unsure about going into camp, or are you so blinded by the excitement right now, Tyler, that you can't even look at that?
My mental health is one thing that I'm because as excited as we are, Scott, as excited as I am, as excited as you are to cover this team, as excited as the fans are out there. There is a world where they go 5-7, or there is a world where they go 4-8, where it's like, oh, this thing was so Gundy in the end of the Gundy's era set this program so far back that even in the portal era, even with a guy like Drew Messamaker and Wyatt Young, Caleb Hawkins, Eric Moore, all of it, it's still really hard to go from 0-18 in the last conference games to winning 4 conference games and being 7-5, 8-4 in a very competitive football team. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that there's a world where that is very possible. It's a possible outcome of the season. So for one, I'm worried about my mental health in case that happens, because I will still have hope in the future, but it will make me question so much more going forward. And that's a conversation I just hope we don't have. But from the football scale, I mean, it's the offensive line. It's the offensive line. We can say the defense. The defense is an unknown. It's a concern. But if this offensive line is, we've talked about it, if they're average to good, this offense should be good enough to get you to a bowl game and to have a winning record at the end of the season. Like, that's my belief. So my concern right now is the offensive line. I think so much of this all falls back on the offensive line. Even if your defense struggles, we've talked about I think everyone's accepting of, hey, the defense is going to be maybe more of a rebuild because Eric Morris isn't a defensive guy. He doesn't have an first-round NFL prospect, leading his defense like he does with his offense. So it all comes back on the offensive line to me, because I think if this offensive line is at least good, that OSU can win 6 games, get to a bowl game, and even in the other 6 that they lose, and 3 of those 6, you leave the stadium and be like, you know what, we lost, but I mean, we just lost on the road to Houston, who's a good football team, 48-43. That was fun. At very least, that was fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm with you on the defense. It's going to be a bigger rebuild than the offense by far. It's not even close. I mean, it really feels like this offense is kind of just prepackaged. Just toss the ball out there and let them go. The defense is going to take some time, and I used this line in the story that I wrote about him last week. There's going to be moments of brilliance, and there's going to be moments of failure from this defense, and you just have to hope that the moments of brilliance come at the right time, and the moments of failure come at a time when they don't cost you a game. So, I think I really do think Skylar Cassidy is going to be a good defensive coordinator. I just don't know how much of it you're going to really see this year, because there is going to be so much building that has to happen, so much development that has to happen on that side of the ball.
I mean, we talked about this, and we're probably going to talk about it ad nauseum even throughout the season. Unless this defense is a top 20 defense in the country, top 30 defense in the country, we're going to have the conversation of the rebuild on the defense. And it just can't be emphasized enough. One, rebuilding a defense is just so much harder. Look at Brent Venables at OU. His defense, his first year in 2022, was awful. I mean, they were one of the worst defenses in the country, and then slowly they get better and better and better. And last year, their defense leads them to a playoff. And I'm not saying Skylar Cassidy is going to build something like that, because one, if he starts to build a defense like that, he's probably going to get a head coaching opportunity somewhere. If in 3 years Oklahoma State has a top 15, top 10 defense in the current state of the Big 12, it'd be pretty impressive. But defense is just going to be a rebuild. Even if they're good and they beat expectations this year, it's still a rebuild. No matter, again, they'd have to be one of the better defenses in the country to say this isn't a rebuild of a defense right now.
Yeah, and back to your point about the offensive line, I really don't know. I think they've got good pieces to work with. I just don't know what the whole puzzle is going to look like. But I really do think if they can just be average, the rest of the offense is going to be able to make enough stuff happen. Now, you got a good running back. You would like them to be a little bit better than average at run blocking to give him some opportunities. But I think Drew Mestamaker in the passing game can succeed behind an behind an average offensive line, because
especially in a conference where you're not littered with first and second round defensive line. That's just so. Yeah, the run game is kind of the exception with that. Like, if you can't establish a run, I don't think it really matters what conference you're in. Now, if they're playing in the Sun Belt, out of the Power Four, if you can't establish a run, you can't establish a run. But when it comes to pass blocking and edge rushers and blitzes and D tackles, doing their assignment to get a linebacker to come through, whatever it is, the Big 12 just isn't littered with guys like that. So you can really work around your offensive line deficiencies.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think that's the biggest concern, the biggest question, the most important job of this offensive coaching staff, and Cody Krill in particular as the offensive line coach, is to develop that group over the month of August and figure out where guys need to be playing, who needs to be on the field, all of that, which I think he's got his hands full with every facet of that, because they've got so many guys that I think could be starters and guys that can play guard or tackle, guard or center, whatever it is. So I think he's got a really tough job ahead.
Now, you're more educated on the depth of this team than I am by a mile, but kind of on paper, again, we're saying this offensive line just means good to average. So they're obviously not filled. If that's our bar for them, they're obviously not filled with NFL guys everywhere. But to me, it does seem like that this offensive line is kind of like 7 or 8 deep, because there are position battles going on, which throughout the course of a season, you're going to get injuries in the offensive line. So it does feel like that they're a little deep on the offensive line at the very least.
Yeah, I really do. I really do think they've got some depth. I think they're pretty solid and are going to have some serious battles at, I could see it at both tackle positions. Maybe 3 guys mixing in between the 2 guards that are battling for those starting jobs. You might have a guy, maybe, somebody like Joseph Hansen, maybe he loses out at the left tackle position, but he can go start at left guard and make your offensive line better there. Different things like that I think could really, really strengthen the depth of this group, so where you've got guys on that second line that are going to be able to step in case of an injury. Things start going wonky, you need to shake some things up. I think you've got guys that you're going to be able to trust, who are maybe not in the starting lineup or can fill in a different spot and bring another good player in somewhere else. So I've said all along, I think Tyler Mercer is the center. I think that's locked. I think that there's a reason that he was one of the first guys they rolled out when we talked to guys back in the spring. But beyond that, I think there are wide open jobs being battled for across the line.
Which, that's a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
Not the end all be all, but it's a good sign going into training camp where you got these serious battles where even the coaches may not have an idea, of who's going to be starting. But that's a good sign that at the very least you can have some depth, which could take you a longer way, even at the beginning of the season if your offensive line starts slow. But as the season goes along, you're able to stay competitive and healthy because of your depth. I mean, it could win you a game in November.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you'd much rather be in this situation than be in the situation of who's going to play left tackle, because we don't feel like anybody can play left tackle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or in the situation like we know who our starting 5 are because the backups are just not there yet.
Right. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, man. We got some more questions from the folks over at GoPokes.com on the message board. Appreciate everybody who is joining in over there and helping us out. But I
need to get an alias on there and just no one knows it's me.
You absolutely should jump in and cause trouble.
Not teabag. Will be my name.
No, something. You mentioned you have multiple nicknames, so I'm sure some of them could filter in and keep.
Yeah, I'll leave like Easter eggs behind to see if people can just pick up on it.
There you go. All right, got some interesting questions, and some that we don't necessarily know answers to right now, but I think will be some good discussion. The first one: if the unthinkable happens and Drew Mestamaker gets his ankle rolled up on the second drive of the Tulsa game, which is a little bit of a second drive injury to the quarterback feels a little bit weird to bring up.
Well, wouldn't that be is he Hoss-Haneying us right now?
That's exactly what's happening. Who steps in is his question. I don't think either of us know that answer, but I'm curious what your thought is, because I think there are two obvious answers, possible answers. It's Grant Jordan, the UMass transfer, Yale transfer, really, who's played his majority of his career there, or Broderick Veers, the true freshman who came in from Arizona. And do you have a preference? Would you rather see it be the veteran, or especially now that redshirting is essentially gone? Would you rather just roll the young guy out there?
Unless he's not ready, go with Broderick. I mean, unless when I mean not ready, if you put him out there, you're going to break him. He's never going to be able to recover. Like, it's mentally going to break him. Like, he needs to build his confidence. If he's ready, roll out there with a freshman this season. Not that I want to say, it's a wash, but if Drew Messermaker goes down, every single expectation of this football team changes. And I think fans would be a lot more accepting of the quarterback whisper, be like, hey, this is a guy I recruited. Look at my list of guys I've recruited that were like 2 or 3 stars. Pretty good list. Hey, we might go 5-7 or 4-8 with this guy, but if we get him the experience and 2027 rolls around, we hit the portal again, we retain some of these guys. I say go with the young guy. As long as he doesn't go out there, or as long as he can go out there and it's not going to mentally break him and break his confidence, put the young guy out there. Because at that point, this season will just be a wash. Year one, hey man, let's just build from here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the way you got to go if you feel confident in his ability to go out there and run the offense and build some confidence. If you're worried about him, you've got to just go ahead and roll with the veteran, even if it maybe Veers. Morris has talked about Veers having maybe the best arm of anybody that they've got on the roster right now. You go watch his huddle highlights, and he's got some 65-yard dimes that he was throwing in high school. So obviously there's some excitement there, but if he's not ready to step in and do everything that you need him to do, or at least do what you can work with to make the offense roll, I think you got to go ahead and go with the veteran. But otherwise, there's no red shirt that's going to be burned. He's got 5 for 5. So yeah, you go ahead and roll him out there and give him a chance if you feel like he's at least close to being ready.
Now, do you want to have a real training camp conversation?
Yes, absolutely.
I just get real crazy with it real quick. There's a world out there, Scott, where Drew Messermaker does go down and Broderick Veers comes in and he lights it up and he's the next big thing at quarterback. And Drew Messermaker's not going to the NFL because he got hurt and his draft stock isn't where he thinks it can be, so he's coming back to college. Could you imagine that conversation?
And now you're a year from now, and you've got the freshman phenom and the forgotten superstar that was going to be a first round draft pick.
Hey, screw it! It's July 28th. Why not have Drew Messermaker be? Let's not go ahead and just have Drew Messermaker into the transfer portal and be the next starting quarterback for Lane Kiffin or something.
Right?
Get really weird with it.
That would be wild. Now I'm very excited about Broderick Veers, so this is not a knock on him.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he's going to be ready for that kind of an acceleration to his career. But I do think there's some talent there, and obviously we've seen what Morris can do when he goes and finds these guys. So it's
like he said at his Garrett Morris said at his opening introductory. He says, if I get a quarterback but he only has 2 stars next to his name, just trust me. I'm like, I will, because you have proven time and time again that you can find these low star guys and turn them into first round NFL draft picks.
Yes, absolutely. All right, an assistant coach question, which I think is fun. Maybe more of a position.
I'm with you real quick. I see to get my charger.
Okay.
No, you're good. I got it.
All right, man. So the question is, by the end of the season, which assistant coach do you think we will be talking about most because of the job they did developing their position group? So, like I said, maybe a little bit more of a position group question, but you're looking at guys who have a chance to really develop their group. Is there either a coach or a position group that you think has maybe that big growth ahead of them?
Well, you hope it's Cody Krill, the offensive line coach.
Oh, absolutely.
That's who you hope. Now you could also say Sean. Was it Sean Brody or Brophy?
Brophy, the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Yeah.
Yes, right when I said Brody, I was like, that's not right. The quarterback coach as well, because I know he's obviously learning under Eric Morris, and I think Drew Messemaker is going to have a big season. And if Oklahoma State wins 8 games and the offense is lighting it up, and Drew Messemaker is a first-round quarterback, first-round pickup quarterback, Sean Brophy could get a high-level, offensive coordinator job or a low-level head coaching job. I think he's a guy that, if this offense succeeds, he's going to be, he was, just right under Morris with having control of this offense and Drew Messemaker himself.
Yeah, like I said, I think Krill is the guy that you want it to be. If we're talking him up in November for what he's done with the offensive line, it's been a really good season. I'm going to go a little bit deep into the defensive side and go with Julius Wilson in the secondary.
Ooh.
For one, I think he's a really talented coach. 2, I think he's got some talent that is kind of ready to really show itself. And that what Skylar Cassidy likes to do at corner is a lot of man, and that puts those guys on an island. I think he's got the guys with the right makeup to be in that situation. I think he's got a chance to really put those guys in positions to succeed and really grow. I think we'll be talking about LaDainian Fields in a different way, at the end of the season. Mo Horn, I've talked about. I think he's ready to really take that next step in his career, and Colin Lewis has been really solid as well, already coming over from North Texas. And then the next guy, I think safety is going to be similar with Jordan Malone coaching that group. I think those guys also have a chance to really. I think the secondary is what I'm getting at. Is I think the secondary is going to be better than maybe we expect. So I think that they could end up being combined with the defensive end being as good as it is. I think the secondary could end up being a real strength on this defense by the end of the year.
Yeah, the more you look at this defense and you study and you kind of just look at the tape and the stats that these guys have had at their previous schools, but then also the retention of LaDainian Fields. It does seem like on paper that the strong suit of this team is going to be its secondary, which again in the Big 12 conference, where it's not necessarily bully ball 24/7, you're not going against monster offensive lines and monster defensive lines, maybe not be the worst thing. Now it depends, their schedule. We were going through the schedule this morning, and that gives me fired up even more, Scott, because you look at that schedule a bit more. It's like 7-2 starts very realistic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Then the last 3 games are tougher. 2 of the last 3 are pretty tough, but nonetheless, I think you probably get away with with some of these teams where your secondary maybe being a little bit of a stronger group.
Yeah.
So I still don't know if Kansas is going to be a team that's just running the rock down your throat this year, or Central Florida is going to be a team that's running the rock down your throat this year, or West Virginia. I just don't know if they're going to be, because I just don't know if they're going to be good enough to be, and 2 if they're built, their offensive systems are built that way.
Yeah. All right, one more question from GoPost.com message board, and this is a fun one again that we don't have an answer to. Are we going to get some turquoise jerseys this year? Will I love it? I have no idea. Would it be a fun one-off? Yes, still better than the gray over white pants that we used to have. So number one, let me say this. Back before the Osage Nation patch was announced, all of the teams were tweeting out videos with Native American imagery and different things. I thought that was going to be a
Me too.
department-wide turquoise jersey situation. And for the N7 that they've done with several sports in the past, turned out to be the Osage Nation patch instead. So it got me to thinking that maybe there is something still to be done with this. So I don't know, but would you like to see the football team in a turquoise jersey?
I think it'll happen one day. I don't think it'll happen maybe this season. I mean, you never know. They've been surprising us with uniforms in the middle of the season that they don't announce until 2 weeks before they release them or something.
Mm-hmm.
They've done that a couple times the last few years. So I guess we can't say it's this season. I think we'll see turquoise uniforms eventually. But if they do, keep it like Murray State or something, because they're cool. They're cool, and I love what they stand for as well. The Oklahoma history behind it with the natives, but it's not Oklahoma State colors.
Right.
I mean, I think Florida State's done this in a football game before too, and everyone's like, I mean, just it's not when it's not your colors, it's not your colors.
Right. Yeah.
So that's my big right. If you're gonna do it for a small FCS non-conference game.
I understand that. Do you have either a jersey or a uniform, full combination, helmet, jersey, pants combination that you have absolutely loved, or one that you've absolutely hated? As our questioner mentioned, what was it? Gray jersey, white pants. I was not a fan of that look either. They haven't done that in a while, but that was not great.
That was bad. My favorite combo that they wear is any black helmet. I'm not picky. Probably cursive Cowboys if I were to pick. But I also love the brand. Orange jerseys, orange pants. I think that's the sleekest look they got. It's just enough to be like the swaggy, clean uniforms, but you're not overdoing it at the same time with like the tricolors at times, which can kind of be like, whoa, this is a lot. I think that's the best look they have. The worst, I mean, I never really hated the grays that much, especially whenever they went to the previous uniforms they had with the darker grays. Those, I remember that 2011 home opener against Louisiana when they're running out the tunnel, and it looked like they were wearing white because they're like silver. They weren't even gray; they're like silver. So yeah, those were probably my least favorite that they wore. Which at the time, Scott, I remember I was really disappointed. I was 11 years old, and that was like whenever like Oregon's uniforms were like at the top of the world. Everyone's playing with Oregon on college football because they had the cool uniforms. And then like Oklahoma State kind of had just like the boring orange or white there for a while at the beginning of Mike Gundy's era. And I remember I was like, I want cool uniforms. I want cool uniforms. And we get cool uniforms. And then like that's the first edition that they ran out the field. I do remember that kind of disappointed me. I was like, it's cool, but it's still not what I was hoping for.
Yeah. The only element of the gray that I wish they would have kept around is pants. That's the only thing that works in my opinion. The helmet was really bad. The jersey I never really cared for.
The helmet, yeah, I guess the helmet's the jersey and the pants is one thing. The helmet was bad.
Yeah.
There's a couple iterations of they had the carbon fiber they wore one year.
Right.
That was a bad one too.
Yeah. But like I don't know why this image of Justice Hill at Kansas State one year where they had the orange chrome helmet, white jersey, gray pants. It's the best look. I love it. I don't know if they've ever even worn it since then. That was probably 2015 or 16 maybe, but it's never come back.
My favorite helmet that they wore, and now they still wear it, but it's for the cursive Cowboys. But I remember it was like a new edition of the orange that I could remember at least. Was 2019 at Texas. They wore those orange, like those, and it was like a very different, like I couldn't like texture on the orange and stuff, and it popped very well. Black stripe with Phantom Pete on the side. I remember they wore those versus Texas and never wore them again, and I was always falling for it because I thought those looked slick.
Where do you stand on the sheriff's badge? Obviously, they've gotten rid of that permanently. I thought that was a cool logo.
Yeah, I miss those uniforms. I think Oklahoma State's uniforms are very nice. If you just look at them objectively, they're very clean uniforms. I like just like the basic Oklahoma State and the just like kind of the slickness to them. The problem with OSU's uniforms now, which they didn't have in the past, with the sheriff's badge and the collar on it, everyone has an exact same uniform now.
Mm-hmm.
Every team, it feels like, especially in the Big 12, has that uniform where it's just like the basic like team stripes. That's it. The pants have no design as well either. Like there's not even a stripe on the pants, which I'm not a fan of. These current uniforms, it makes me miss the badge. It makes me miss the badge on the helmet. That entire era, it makes me miss it.
All right. We'll get to the 6-year here in a minute, talk a little bit more about preseason camp. But We're recording this on Tuesday. There's been a couple of basketball games here the last couple of nights. Cowboys out in Puerto Rico. Did you tune in? There was some live stream available. It wasn't the best technology, and they mixed in a few replays here and there, but for the most part, it was just a steady camera following the action. But did you check it out at all?
I can't say that I did. I was busy both on Sunday night, and then I had a family dinner on Sunday, and then I watched the Odyssey last night, Scott.
Nothing wrong with that. I understand.
Great movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. To everybody out there, IMAX it. Great. With that said, I was busy. I wasn't going to watch either way. Just got to be completely honest. Just out of sight, out of mind right now. And after the Auburn scrimmage last fall, I have just decided I am no longer getting excited about Oklahoma State basketball until Oklahoma State basketball is good. I will, like, once the season starts, I'll be watching every game. Like, OSU basketball is, football is obviously at a different level, but like OSU basketball is like my first love growing up. Like, my first memories are the Final Four when I was like 5 years old or 4 years old, however old I was. And I don't remember anything outside of my dad running around the living room. And then that's kind of like my early sports memories, the early Travis Ford days. So there's a special place in my heart for OSU basketball. But I'm not getting excited about them. After that Auburn scrimmage in the 12-1 start, 13-1 start, whatever it was last season, and every single year under the Mike Boynton era, especially when I was in college, getting excited about those teams. Cade Cunningham worked out, but it was COVID, which sucked. So I am just no longer getting excited about OSU basketball. I will watch once the season starts, but I'm not watching any scrimmages. I'm not going to get my hopes up in July for something that's going to hurt me in February. I can't do it to myself.
I think that's a healthy perspective.
Yes.
I don't think
I'm maturing.
you are T-Bag. I'll give you that. But I think getting either excited or disappointed by what's happening in Puerto Rico is not the way to go.
Scott, I needed to add you to my college buddy group text because when I got home from the movies last night, I had like 20 missed texts from him just talking about OSU basketball. Like, oh, we're a tournament team this year. I was like, guys, we did this in October last year with Auburn. I do think this is Steve Lett's best team of what it looks like on paper. I do think they're talented, and I will get excited. I do think they could have a fun team. I'm not going to sit here and say they're a tournament team because of a scrimmage in Puerto Rico in July.
Right.
So don't underestimate the crazy of the fan because they're
absolutely.
They're already getting there.
Yeah, no, I do think that this has shown they've got a chance to have some real depth.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know because this is a Puerto Rican professional team. It's hard to know exactly how good they are. The officiating was a little bit weird. There were like a lot of offensive fouls being called, like more than I've ever seen in a game before. So I don't know what the translation of that was. There was some fascinating stuff, and you can see some of the guys who were freshmen last year making some improvements in their games, whether it was Ahmed or Ragland inside or Crotty on the perimeter. The true freshmen, have especially in Monday night's game, they got a lot more run. Jalen Montanati got to start. We didn't see him a ton in the opener. But Parker Robinson had some moments. Latrell Allman looked good. Felici, it looks like he could really be an impact player. Does a lot of things well. So I understand why people are getting fired up about things, but it's just so hard to know what kind of competition they're playing. And at the same time, people are like, Kanye Clary hasn't played that well and yada yada. I'm like, yeah, and he's also a senior, and he's probably more interested in being at the beach in San Juan than on the basketball floor right now.
Exactly. Real quick, is Mekhi Ragland still on the team?
Yes, he is.
Bang! I love that guy. All right.
Yeah.
What was that?
Real quick, he has slimmed down and looked like he's moving a lot better this year. So anyway, go ahead.
I liked it better when he was fat. I liked it better when he was fat.
He's still a big dude.
Okay, as long as
he's going to be able to throw some weight around in there.
Okay, yeah. Big Mekhi Ragland fan. I've always thought about like if I was like a college basketball player, and even like a NFL player when they go to these cool destinations, I would be the worst person to go to Puerto Rico or go to like Frankfurt,
Bahamas.
Germany, where it was like somewhere I've never been before, like really cool, especially like Puerto Rico. I think that'd be really harder than like Puerto Rico when you're like by like the Bahamas and the Caribbean and all that.
Right.
Or the Bohemian class they do. I would be the worst teammate ever. I would just not care about the sport of basketball or whatever sport I'm playing at all. I'd get us in trouble, make us have to run because I would be treated as a free vacation.
Yeah, no, it would be really difficult, especially like I mean, a lot of these guys, have never traveled anywhere like that or had that opportunity, and it's a rare opportunity for them, and can't blame a guy for wanting to go and enjoy his time in that situation. So I totally understand.
Yeah, especially when you're in college.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
When I was in college, we were going to Gulf Shores, Alabama. I'm like, this is nice.
Right.
In the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. I think it's time to jump into the 6-shooter here. We got it's an all OSU 6-shooter today, which is rare. Usually the first half is OSU stuff. Second half we'll get a little bit crazy, but we're sticking with some OSU stuff in the draft today. So, but first the real questions off the top here. We talked about some positions and concerns and things like that. But the question is 3 players you're most curious about in camp, or it could be excited, concerned about, just curious about in general. Somebody you're just fired up to see what they do when they get out there and get going here in a week.
I told you at the beginning of the show that I am going to be very mainstream with my first answer on this one. It's Drew Messemaker. We get to go out, and I know we got to see him in spring ball already, but and this is just maybe me because we focus so much on the sports animal and the Thunder that they're like springtime. That time is college basketball into NBA playoffs for me. Like it is such a, I keep up with it and all that, but like I don't let myself get excited about it kind of thing. And so I know we got to see him in spring ball, but like I said earlier, it's getting so real that Drew Messemaker is a quarterback of Oklahoma State, and you have a real NFL first-round prospect as quarterback, and just going out and just watching him just throw the football in person at practice or for the first game against Tulsa, watching that first drive, or if we're lucky enough to see a mini 2-minute drill scrimmage, doubt that's going to happen, which I don't blame the coaches for that, but be cool if they let us. Just the fact that Drew Messemaker is quarterback of Oklahoma State is getting more and more real by the day, by the moment. It just gets you more excited for football season. It's Drew Messemaker for me is my first choice.
Nothing wrong with that. I like to tell this story. So when OSU basketball got eliminated from the Big 12 tournament last year in Kansas City, all the beat writers are driving back down, and that next day is pro day, and it's like it was there was like Parker Robertson and Terrell Davis and some guys that you liked, but you didn't really, you weren't expecting anybody to be a draft pick, and they weren't. There's a few guys in camp. I think like 4 guys off last year's team are in camps right now. But you didn't. It wasn't a pro day that was like, hey, Mike Tomlin might be here. Going back to when he showed up to watch Mason Rudolph throw. It wasn't that type of day where there was like a head coach or a GM going to be there to see somebody. Anyway, my whole point is I wasn't all that fired up for pro day last year. Still went and showed up after driving back from Kansas City, and I'm exhausted and just worn out from the drive. And it goes as a typical pro day does. And then all of a sudden, Drew Messemaker comes out to throw to the receivers. And that was by far the most entertaining thing of pro day. And he wasn't even, auditioning for the scouts. Just getting to watch him throw over and over and over again, just throwing dimes all over the field, just dotting guys up and hitting hands, hitting numbers all day long was so much fun. And so right there with you on that. My first one, I'm going to go with a freshman that we've already talked about a little bit, Broderick Veers. I want to see kind of some of the stuff that we were talking about in his development. If he does have to go on the field at some point, what have we seen from him? How did he take what he learned in spring and summer and apply it to the field in fall camp? I want to see what the kind of the start of the development is, and I'm not trying to project anything onto him. I just want to see what his growth curve kind of looks like at this point in his career. So, all right, next one.
I'm going to go with another freshman on the opposite side of the ball as well. I don't think we've talked about yet. KD Jones.
Yeah.
Freshman coming in from Tulsa. Jinx, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
coming in from Jinx High School, in the Tulsa area. He's a guy that I'm not one. I'm not one to follow. Like, I follow recruiting in the sense, like, I see who's committed where and all that, but like, I'm not breaking down film. I'm not watching recruits' film, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are, and I rely on those people to give me to tell us what they think of these people. And all the people on in the OSU world and OSU Twitter Spaces that follow recruiting like that, where they're watching and scouting these guys play football. A lot of them are very excited about what KD Jones can be. I know whenever he decommitted originally and committed to Kansas, it was viewed as a big loss. Then he comes back whenever Eric Morris gets hired. He decommits from Kansas and flips back to OSU. And I think there's just some excitement around this guy. So it's gonna be interesting to see if there's a guy that's gonna be a redshirt. He'll maybe play in 3 or 4 games, or 4 games, whatever the redshirt limit is. Maybe he'll play in that many. Or this guy maybe has an upside of being a second string running back. So I'm just interested to see where he is already at this early phase of his college career.
Yeah, no, same. And obviously he got dinged up there in the spring game. We missed out on getting to see him that day. I think he got like one or 2 snaps was all he got, and only 1 touch. So yeah, he was a guy that I was looking forward to seeing that day, and then had the shoulder injury that knocked him out that day. So I'm with you right there. I'm going to go with a guy that we did not get to see in spring, Quentin Hammonds on the defensive side. Every time that Eric Morris is talking about the secondary, he talks about this guy, even though he was out all of spring. It just feels like he's going to be an integral part in that secondary. He's big enough, physical enough to come up and help in run support. I'm just excited to see him because of the way that the coaches talk about him, and to get a look at this guy that it feels like is going to be a really important piece of that defense. So, Tyler, your last one in this one.
I'm going to take your guy, Scott, Chris Barnes. I'm excited. I'm just excited to see what a guy that small looks like playing on the outside.
Right.
That's going to be fun.
It is.
I'm just excited. Wyatt Young, I think, is going to be the wide receiver 1, probably get the most targets. But Chris Barnes is a clear wide receiver number 2 going into camp, and I'm excited for Drew Messamaker, so by virtue, I'm very excited for the wide receivers. And Chris Barnes is on that list. Wyatt Young felt a little too easy. And so I was like, if I'm more excited for Chris Barnes or Wyatt Young, and I was like, Chris Barnes playing on the outside seems a little bit more fun.
All right. My last one, I'm going to go. So I wrote a story about this, and I think I ended up with like 8 guys on the list. I've tried to stay off of that list a little bit, but I've kind of diverted back to it. But I'm going with a guy that I know was not on that list for me. I'm going to go with Tate Romney at linebacker. And my thought is I want to see if spring was for real, because he looked legit in spring, and not like all Big 12 type linebacker, but really reliable guy in there next to Ethan Wisłowski at linebacker. And, coming in, I didn't really think that much of him. I thought that Chisholm was sort of the number 2 guy as far as linebackers in that transfer portal class. And Romney comes in, has this great spring, and I want to see if he's going to continue that. He seems like a guy, as a veteran who could be a really solid leader for this team, and so I want to see what the progression is for him now. I think that linebacker group has a chance to be some really reliable playmakers, and I want to see if he's for sure going to be that second guy in there, because I think, like I said, I think the ceiling is pretty high for that group if they can be what it looks like they could be right now.
I'm going to ask you, I don't know, not an unfair question, but kind of an unfair question, especially on spot. In terms of I don't know how we can describe it. Maybe they'll be top 4, like their ceiling's top 4, the ceiling's top 7. What do you think the ceiling of this defense is? Like a top 4 Big 12 defense, a top 7? Like I was saying, what do you think the ceiling is? Because I don't know at all. You could tell me top 3, and I'd be like, yeah.
No, I could see them being in we'll say top 7. I'm not quite ready to go top 4 yet. I want to see if they can have the run defense that they need to have. You don't want to be that defense that it's just real easy to run right between the tackles at you and you get barreled over. So that's the thing. I'm particularly with the defensive tackle being kind of the main concern on that side of the ball. That's the thing that holds me back from saying that their ceiling could be top 4. But I do think they could be a top 7 defense.
That's top half of the conference.
Yeah,
You take that. You take that any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not guaranteeing it, but I do think that they have that type of potential on that side of the ball. All right, man. You ready for the draft?
I have so many names written down.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. All right. So as I mentioned, it's all Cowboys, and when we get to my pick, I'll explain how I came about this, because my first pick is going to be the motivation for this whole idea. But the draft topic is forgotten Cowboys, former football players who either had a good stretch, had a good career, but never really got talked about all that much afterwards when they were done, or after that one good stretch that they had in their career. So with that, we'll fire up the draft. Your first pick, Tyler Adams.
No, let's hear your first pick. The one that got this whole thing going. I'm interested.
All right, good deal.
I have it written down.
So I'm really curious to see if this guy pops for you, because this was 2008, so this might be a little early for you. No. Okay, I'm safe then. All right. So, anyways, I was doing some stuff on YouTube the other day, and YouTube just decided that I needed to watch OSU at Missouri 2008 highlights, and everybody remembers what.
Can I guess a player? Whenever after you tell the story, keep going, and then I'll guess.
No, fire it out, because I'm ready to say his
name.
No, it's not, but that's a good one. That's a good one. No, the name is Damian Davis, receiver, who had a couple of touchdowns that day, had a really good year. He was this super skinny dude who was a phenomenal downfield blocker. It was all effort, because he didn't have any weight. In my mind, he was 6'6" and 140 pounds. I don't remember what his actual height and weight was, but he was just super skinny, but he would throw his body around like crazy. There were multiple times that year where he would make a block on his guy at the line, and then the running back or receiver would get past him. He'd sprint downfield and go make another block. But that Missouri game, he had a couple of big touchdowns. He was just a lot of fun. Career didn't work out after that, and was a kid who came from a really rough upbringing, and just in terms of a difficult home life and all of that, and made something of himself for that season. Unfortunately, it didn't work out beyond that, but yeah, he was the one that motivated this whole idea.
That's a good one, because you said that name, and I was like, whoa. Like last time I heard that name was probably 3 years ago when I was watching the OSU Missouri highlights from 2008. Right. So yeah, that's a good pick right there.
All right. So who is your first round pick here, Tyler?
So this guy, he played at Oklahoma State for one season, pre-transfer portal, and I think he's a guy that's not talked about enough. He had one of my favorite scoop and scores of all time, being at an OSU football game in 2013 Baylor, transferred from Kansas for his 5th year, and that's Tyler Patton.
That's a good one.
He was just a guy that came in, played cornerback, played in the secondary for OSU, lockdown corner, and he was just a very, very solid football player. And I'm looking at my list, and I have a lot of guys from like the 2012, 2013, transitioning from 2011 into 2012, 2013. And I would say if they would have just beat OU that year, and I think if they played 10 times, I think OSU wins Bedlam 7 or 8 times that year. I believe they were so much better than OU. Bob Stoops, for whatever reason, well, not whatever reason, it's not like we don't have many examples either. He just coached circles around Gundy that day, went for it. There's a couple questionable calls as well that we don't need to get into. But if OSU just wins that Bedlam game, then that's another Big 12 championship for Gundy. 11-1 season, go on to the Fiesta Bowl, play Central Florida, 12-1, 11-2, whatever it be. It'd be Gundy. That team would be veered as a 2011 and 2021. I think 2013 is so underrated as a football team, and Tyler Patton is such an underrated player from that football team as well. I loved Tyler Patton.
That's a good one. And it's funny because you mentioned that it was pre-transfer portal. It was when you had the grad transfer rule, though. Yeah. And Mike Gundy, for as much as he ripped on the transfer portal, he used the grad transfer rule. He was great with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. My second pick. This might be borderline. You can shut me down if this guy was too popular. But I'm going to go with former Cowboy running back LD Brown. He
Okay.
was this is a little bit more away from football and personal. He in my time all my time covering the Cowboys, the most entertaining guy to interview. He was so much fun.
Really?
Didn't matter the scenario. He was always in a good mood. He always had something funny to say. Even if you talk to him after a loss, he wasn't silly, but he had good perspective. He was just that type of guy that was just had the right mindset for interacting with the media, and he was a fascinating guy. Had a solid career, had a couple of big kick returns in his career, some moments at running back, but he was just so much fun to have around in media settings that I wish his career had gone better so we could have talked to him more.
LD Brown. I'm not going to say that's too familiar because I haven't thought about LD Brown, and he was a running back when I was in school, and I should always remember LD Brown. I haven't thought about it. So that's a good pick.
All right, second round. Who you got, Tyler?
I'm going to go with a running back as well, and I think I kind of have a theme here. I didn't even do this intentionally. I did not do this intentionally, but I have a theme here with a lot of guys coming from the 2012, 2015 era, which I think had a lot of underrated players. And this one, he was a running back for 2 seasons. One of those seasons, very, very good. The second season, pretty good, but the team was also pretty down. And that's Desmond Rowland, running back primarily 2013, 2014. He was a very good running back. He was downhill, run you over with his shoulder, just a mean bowling ball running back. I loved Desmond Rowland, and I just don't feel like he's ever – maybe it's just because Oklahoma State does have a fairly rich running back history, and he's just a guy that never panned out in the NFL. But he was the starting running back for 2 seasons. He was the guy for 2 seasons, and pretty decent while at it.
Yeah, he was. He was a guy that had that look, and like if he had gone on and done something, I don't think it would have surprised you. So more surprising that he didn't. But he was a solid player who really looked the part. So that's a good one. All right, my final round. I'm going back to the 2008 team. Strangely, again, if I move, you can see I've got my Peyton Manning stuff up on the wall. This is a guy who went on and played for the Colts for a minute. Had a decent little NFL career. Cornerback Jacob Lacey. He was. He was. I just talked about how much I loved LD Brown in media scenarios. Jacob was really quiet with the media. And so he didn't talk a ton, and you had other guys like Andre Sexton was kind of in that defensive backfield in 08. He was the guy that we always talked to because he was more in the LD Brown type of category. Jacob was a quiet guy. I don't know if he didn't like us or if he was just quiet. But he didn't really usually have a lot to say, but was a really solid player. And like I said, went on, had a good little NFL career for a minute, and a guy that I always enjoyed getting to interact with back then, and then following his career once he became a Colt, and I got to watch him a little bit closer even then in the NFL.
I'm aging myself, Scott, because that I always watched OSU football because it was my family, everyone's watching it. Like I said early on, for me it was kind of basketball and baseball because OSU football didn't give you much to cheer for early in my childhood.
Right? Yeah.
Going from early, end of Les Miles into Mike Gundy's beginning tenure, that 2008 Missouri game is like what got me because, not to poke fun of our brothers down south, but they lost to Texas, and then we transitioned into OSU Missouri, and OSU won that game. And I was like, college football is awesome. OU lost, and OSU just got a top 3 win on the road. This is the best. That's a game that got me over. So guys like Jacob Lacey and stuff, I have good memory of them. But I just don't even think about them when I think about OSU football because it was just so early on.
Oh yeah,
in my OSU football watching career.
Makes sense, man. All right, who are you wrapping this thing up with?
All right, I can't decide. So, can I?
Name as many as you want. Fire away. I love
one
it.
guy, and I'm not going to say it because one, it's so recent, still fairly recent, it's starting to go fast now. But I think this guy was just such an underrated player, such an underrated reason for the massive success of 2021, and that's Devin Harper. Because Malcolm Rodriguez was the guy. He was the captain. He was the star. He was the fan favorite. Harper went on to the NFL. But, Malcolm Rodriguez was it out of the linebacker group. It's just how it was. But Devin Harper was my favorite player to watch on that defense. Every single play, that dude never gave up. And I used to always tell my buddies when we're watching a game or we're in the student section or watching at home on an away game, I was like, he never gives up. He never gives up. And sure enough, there's that famous Bedlam play where he chasing Caleb Williams down, falls, slips, and Caleb Williams takes off, but he doesn't give up on the play, goes and sacks him or tackles him before OU could get the first down on a fourth down play in Bedlam, which we thought at the time sealed it. Turned out it did not. OSU won the game, obviously, but OU did have one last chance. And I remember screaming to my buddies, he never gives up. He never gives up. So Devin Harper's my honorable mention. He did go into the NFL, but when you talk about that 21 defense, Devin Harper, the man. I love that guy. But I got to go with this guy because he started an era for a quarterback. He was a quarterback outside of James Washington on this team because James Washington, was the James Washington button. But this guy was a go-to guy, always open, always available for especially the early Mason Rudolph days. David Glidden.
Oh, very nice.
David Glidden. I feel like he is never talked about, never mentioned. He had his senior year, I was looking up earlier, he had close to 900 yards receiving. He was just an awesome, awesome player, and he was just kind of Mr. Reliable. I mean, like I said, James Washington didn't clear wide receiver one, but David Glidden was just a Mr. Reliable, especially for a young Mason Rudolph.
Oh, absolutely. I've always been a big Glidden fan. In fact, so I talked a lot about the 2008 team. I was covering Oklahoma State in 2008, spring of 2009. My son is born. I moved off of the OSU beat, go cover high schools for 9 years after my son was born. And that was going into, I want to say that was going into Glidden's junior year at Mustang. And, I live out in the Yukon Mustang area. And so I covered a lot of Mustang games over those 2 years. They were a really good team, had a lot of good players. I got to know David a little bit back then, and then obviously followed his career through OSU and into the coaching ranks and everything. So I'm a big fan of that pick. Honestly, I'm a little sad that I didn't think about it myself because I do love David.
I also had Tracy / Charlie Moore. Especially Tracy Moore. Tracy Moore was an awesome receiver for 4 years, and just never talked about. It's never talked about how awesome he was.
And going back to Devin Harper really quickly, because I thought about him, I also thought about Eamon Ogbongbemiga, who was the linebacker the year before, and was in the same sort of scenario because Malcolm was really coming on at that point and becoming that star after moving from safety. Eamon was a big-time player and a great dude. Also had a little bit of an NFL career. I was a little bit surprised. I just did a story, went through all the NFL camp rosters. Didn't see either Eamon or Devin Harper on a roster. I kind of thought those guys might still be sticking around. But Thomas Harper, though, still in the NFL, hanging out with the Lions. There it was him, Malcolm, obviously, and Tyler Lacey, all three on the Lions roster right now.
Scott, there's one thing you should know about me as we go forward. That 2021 Oklahoma State Cowboy football defense is my favorite unit to ever exist in professional sports. OSU could win a national championship with Drew Messermaker this year. They could go from 1-11 to national champions, and nothing will top what that 2021 Cowboy defense meant to me. There's a few reasons for it. One, it was my senior year of college, so that was just very special. Went down. I made a last-second trip. My friends were leaving for Austin, Texas at 7 a.m. on Friday. I made the decision whenever I was like, I'm not going to go. I went to bed Thursday night. I'm not going to go. I heard my roommates getting up to leave. It's 6:45. I got up at 6:45 out of a whim, a little hungover. It's like, screw it, I'm going to Austin. Best decision I ever made because that was the day the defense submitted themselves. They made that line against Texas to stop them.
Yes.
I literally just an 11-man line to get through this, I dare you. And they couldn't. It was nuts. So So that 2021 defense, I will bring up any chance I get. It's my favorite unit to ever exist in professional sports. I was also lucky enough to be neighbors with a couple of the guys, like literally like right next door, neighbors with a few of them. And so drinking some post-game beers with the boys and hearing them, what they're, just hearing about the game and stuff was awesome. So I will forever defend that 21 defense. That's my favorite sports memory or unit, anything of all time.
No, I completely understand that. It was so much fun to cover those guys. So many different personalities.
Yeah, they were all huge personalities too.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys in the secondary, Colby Harvell Peel and guys like that. They were just so much fun to watch and to cover. So yeah,
they were truly like that team. Spencer Sanders and Jalen Ward, like all the whole team, and especially that defense because they all rolled around together. On the outside of football, they were truly stars on campus. Like they were the one group of people where I was on campus, and if you're at Murphy's on a Saturday night after a game, or even during whenever it was, if you saw Colby Harvell Peel and Trey Sterling, Devin Harper walk in, and Tyler Lacey, you're like, the boys are here. And it was truly like stars have walked into the building.
Yeah.
It's what it was like.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Well, hopefully the fans will jump in because I love hearing names like this and getting those blasts from the past. And obviously
we could do. You know what? Next, let's just book it. February after signing day. Whenever we're in a little bit of lull of college football, or even maybe like next early July, we'll just do a 2-hour podcast of just naming old OC football players.
I like it. And listen, we only went back to 2008, so I guarantee you there's some viewers here that want to jump in the comments and give us some guys from the 80s or maybe even before that. So look forward to what everybody wants to share as far as that goes. But I think that's going to do it for episode 2 here, Tyler. So good stuff. Again, he's Tyler Adams from Mooring Animals. I'm Scott Wright, publisher of GoPokes.com. This has been the OkState Insider Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.